Joining us now, he's our Fox Sports college football analyst, host of the number one show podcast for Fox Sports. Good friend RJ Young joins us. Hello, RJ.
And how you doing, man?
Great. We are having a great spirited discussion about what transpired in Columbus on Saturday afternoon. Are you buying low on Arch Manning, or could there be more to come from what we saw from Arch this past Saturday?
I think most people, given a few days' time, will come back to there's more to come from Arch Manning for one simple fact. He's not going to play Ohio State for the next 11 weeks, right? Everybody that they play for the most part is either going to be at that level or below that level. At that level, I'm thinking about Georgia, right? After that, I think we're going to see the dude grow up. I think that it was unnerving to play in front of that many hostile fans. I think that while we were really taking a look at what Julian Saban was going to do in his first ever start, this is Arch's first start against a class college football opponent. I think it's more upsetting as a Texas fan, not what Arch did or didn't do, but they got stood up at the goal line twice, that they were uncharacteristically limp and soft in the run game when they needed to be better. That, I think, would haunt them. But I'm buying on Arch Manning. I think he's going to be a great player.
Do you give more credit to maybe Matt Patricia, or do you think it was nerves and his first time out in a hostile environment?
I think it's got to be a bit of both, honestly. I think that Matt Patricia is an outstanding defensive coordinator, and while we can talk about Arch and his nerves, one of the other things I think is important to reference here is that's a really great defense he played too. I don't just mean the guy calling the plays. I mean, Caleb Downs, for some, is the best player in college football. I think he's the second best player in college football. And the best player in college football was mostly held in check in Jeremiah Smith by that Texas defense. Ardell Reese played outstanding. Jermaine Matthews, former five-star and number one at his position, he made the interception running that route to Ryan Wingo. I think it's a bit of both. And I think when both those things come together, it's going to be really difficult to beat that team. That said, they lost 14-7, not 49-7, 14-7.
Yeah, RJ Young joining us here on Fox Sports Radio, talking about the weekend that was in college football. She's Matzi Bolaños. I'm Dan Beyer in for Doug. One more on that part. I want to give Sark the benefit of the doubt because of where Texas is. They're a preseason number one. They're bringing in the players. But, we're talking about James Franklin and his poorest record against top five teams and what's expected of Penn State. Will it build with Sark because they play this close game against Ohio State on Saturday? They lose to them in what was a close game in the Cotton Bowl in the Longhorns' previous last game of the season. At any point, do you think he starts to build on Sark, or maybe we start to have conversations around him?
No, he's got one of the coolest feats in college football as far as I'm concerned. That Texas program was down and down bad when he got there. They made 2 consecutive college football playoff appearances. They made 2 consecutive conference championship game appearances, and they've won one in the last couple of years. And all he's done is recruit his behind off to make sure that they keep reloading on that offense and that defense. I think nobody in Texas is happy about the loss to Ohio State, but I also look at Dabo Swinney and Clemson, right? They took a pretty tough loss this weekend too. Nobody wants to see Dabo Swinney get out of Clemson. I think it's going to be very much like that for Texas. They have an opportunity to put together a great one-loss record.
Let's move on to that top 10 matchup between LSU and Clemson, where I think no one really expected the young LSU team to take on this established defense with Clemson and come out and win. What did you make of it? Were you surprised?
I was not surprised, Monty. I actually thought this was going to be a close game. I picked Clemson to win because coming into Death Valley is very difficult. To your point, that is what I think would have been unnerving. But in the way that, say, Texas was a bit unnerved by Ohio State, the boys from the Bayou just were not. Caden Durham was outstanding running the ball. You saw what kind of speed they had on the outside. I don't know how Barian Browning's TD was taken off the board. That looked like a TD on Mars. So it was a much closer game than it should have been on the scoreboard. But Jared Nussmeier is a dude. He's a player. Harold Perkins is a dude. He's a player. I think the defenses cancel each other out. What you saw was one guy got help from his offense in Jared Nussmeier, and one guy did not in Cade Klubnik, and that ended up being the difference in the game.
RJ Young joining us here on Fox Sports Radio. What I find funny is the conversation about the SEC as a whole, because you have LSU getting the win against Clemson, and I'm not making this up for the sake of just bringing this to you, RJ, I heard people say disappointing weekend, but it's because Texas doesn't beat Ohio State and Alabama doesn't beat Florida State. Now, I can give Texas a pass. Can we give Alabama a pass for what happened in Tallahassee on Saturday?
No, we can't give it a pass because we're comparing Kalen DeBoer to Nick Saban, which was always going to be the case for the person that follows Nick Saban at Alabama. But now we are back to an era that I remember when I was in high school and I was going to college. Alabama ain't nothing and nobody. We all think that we can get them now. Vanderbilt got them. Kentucky's looking like, hey, that's meat over there. And Florida State said food. And not only did they say food, Tommy Castellanos got out here and said, I ain't scared of them. Nick Saban ain't there to save them. And then stood on business and took care of it. Now, Kalen DeBoer is 14-4 against unranked opponents. Nick Saban was 230-4 against unranked opponents. Nah, dog, it ain't fun to be Kalen DeBoer right now. It's really not. Bama fans have had it, I think. And one more loss like this one to an unranked opponent, yeah, they might go shopping.
Did
he lose his job? Could he lose his job after this year? And this is. By the way, I feel dirty asking this question on September 1st. I just threw Sark under the bus after week 1. It's not my intention, RJ, but that Alabama's different. Like, could there be some rumblings?
Alabama is different, but I'm gonna put Kalen DeBoer in the spot that Brent Venables is going to have. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. You know how much Oklahoma means to me, right?
Yeah.
The fan in me comes up an OU fan, and there are lots of Oklahoma fans that want to see Brent Venables out of the seat. I think that they got a little bit more of a hair trigger at Bama because of the kind of success they've had over the past 20 years, but I don't think he loses his job this year. I think they're going to win 8-9 games. If they win 10, they make the playoffs. That's why we changed the seeding, right? We changed the seeding because they got left out. We have tried to bend over backwards to make this Bama program remain the Bama program that it was at Saban, with Saban, and Kalen DeBoer seems to be hell-bent on making sure that we get rid of that notion altogether.
It's amazing. It truly is the expectations, and whoever followed Nick Saban was going to have to deal with this, and while you thought it could be an advantage, I'm not sure if it is, even if you're bringing in the talent that he's bringing in.
Nearly an impossible task.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of more before we let you go. Miami survives against Notre Dame last night. It looked like the Canes were in control before a late push from Notre Dame. Were you impressed by Carson Beck's performance against the Fighting Irish?
I was very impressed by Carson Beck's performance. One of the reasons I had C.J. Carr to compare it against. And what it came down to for me is one guy is an experienced starter who has played in games of this magnitude before and is used to winning. Remember, Carson Beck got the win against Clemson last year, and it didn't look that dissimilar at Georgia last year that it did this year. And he's got a budding star in Malachi Tony at wide receiver. C.J. Carr's got good. He's got moxie, but those intentional groundings that he has, the ways in which the game seemed to speed up for him, and frankly, that front seven that Miami had, that's going to be the thing that I think turns them into the kind of program that can compete for the ACC championship. They're nasty up front. I did not expect Ruben Bain to basically build a house in the backfield next to C.J. Carr, while also making it easier on them by not running the ball against Jeremiah Love. Very excited about what Carson Beck can be at Miami, but, it's Miami. We thought they were going to be great last year. They had the number 1 pick, still didn't make the playoffs. That's the path now. Can you make the playoffs at Miami?
You get one game left today. North Carolina taking on TCU. Bill Belichick making his debut as a college coach for North Carolina. What are you expecting, not just for today's game, but for the season for Belichick?
I dare him to do better than the last high-profile coach to become a Power 4 coach without any Power 4 head coaching experience, and that's Deion Sanders of Colorado. He does better than 4-8. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Next year, if he wins 9 games, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and have a Heisman Trophy winner. But tonight, they're playing Texas Christian. This is a Texas Christian team that Deion Sanders beat in his first game as a Power 4 head coach at Colorado on the road, I might add. This game is in Chapel Hill. At the very minimum, you need to beat Josh Hoover and Sonny Dykes in Texas Christian. Otherwise, I'm going to start looking at you and asking, why did they pay you $10 million when you haven't done much of anything? While Deion Sanders had 9 wins, finished atop the Big 12, had a Heisman Trophy winner, first-round pick. This is not the NFL. This is college football. We do it a little bit differently. It ain't as easy to win here as many people think it is.
Well, if North Carolina wins tonight, it'd be a pretty darn good weekend for the ACC with the Florida State victory. Of course, you mentioned the the Clemson loss, but it would be a good weekend for that conference if North Carolina could pull it off with the Miami victory as well over Notre Dame. RJ, we love talking to you. We love watching you. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you again soon.
Dan, Monty, thanks so much for having me. You guys have a great Labor Day.